Even during the existence of the empire, Russia often intervened in many conflicts, and even often when they were provocateur. Thus the Russian Empire supported some peoples in their uprisings against the metropolises, thereby giving a decisive role in the formation of new states in Europe. And in this video we'll talk about some of the countries that Russia helped to gain independence. With the fall of Byzantium, all its lands fell under the Ottomans, and its main people, the Greeks, found themselves without their own state. This has been the case for 5 centuries, but after the Napoleonic Wars and the weakening of the Ottoman Empire, nationalist ambitions began to grow among the Greeks, which was supported by some Western countries as well as Russia. At that time, the Greeks and Russians were extremely close. It is because these two nations were the main carriers of the Orthodox faith. The Greek Revolution broke out in 1821, at the same time as the uprising in Romania. The Greeks supported the Romanians in their uprising, which was suppressed in the same year. Nevertheless, the rebels in Greece itself began to seize land. A year later, the Greeks declared an independent state and created a provisional government. Nevertheless, the Ottomans were not going to give up so easily. The revolution lasted until 1830, when Greece was recognized as independent by 3 great powers: Russia, France, and the UK. And now to the question, how did Russia help the Greeks? Even before the Greek Revolution, the Greek Peloponnesian uprising took place on the territory of the Ottoman Empire, which was also sponsored by the Russians, but was suppressed due to the underestimation of the enemy. Since then, Russia has regularly sent its agents to Greece to investigate, and already during the revolution, Russia was the first of all countries to provide Greece with monetary loans, which of course had a positive effect on the result of the revolution. Some of the rebellious forces were led by Greeks who served in the Russian army. Russia also, albeit secretly, supplied weapons and provisions to Greece. But even at the end of the Greek Revolution, Russia declared war on Turkey, thereby distracting a significant part of the army from itself, and then defeated it. In the end, Russia forced the Ottoman Empire to recognize Greece by a peace treaty. It's also interesting that the first president of Greece was Ioan Kapodistria, who was previously Minister of Foreign Affairs in Russia. Before we go on, like this video or leave the comment to help YouTube to spread this video. Thank you. Serbia is a centuries-old ally of Russia, and it also owes its independence to the Russians. Serbian lands were also captured by the Ottomans back in the 15th century, and national uprisings began only in the early 19th. The first Serbian uprising took place in 1804, due to the massacre of the Janissaries on their lands. So the Serbian uprising began, and 2 years later, Russia intervened in it. Russia declared war on Turkey and began active hostilities. Russian soldiers were also sent to the territory of Serbia. The outcome of the war was signing of a peace treaty between Russia and Turkey, according to which Serbia was to receive autonomy and all Serbian political prisoners were to be released. Despite the agreement, the Ottoman authorities did not keep their promises and began to suppress the Serbian government, and political prisoners were not released. Surely this is due to the fact that the war against Napoleon began in Russia, and it could not prevent it in any way. Nevertheless, already in 1815 a new uprising began in Serbia, which was again actively supported by Russia, and under its pressure the Ottoman Empire was forced to grant autonomy to Serbia. So the Principality of Serbia was created, which over the years will become a completely independent state. And again the Balkans, now Bulgaria, by the way, again an Orthodox country that was under the rule of the Ottomans. The Bulgarians rebelled against the Ottomans. It went down in history as the April Uprising. Despite the fact that it was suppressed in the shortest possible time, it suffered serious consequences. Many European countries condemned the actions of the Ottoman Empire against Christians, and a year later, another war began between Russia and Turkey. Russian troops occupied the lands of Bulgaria and established a provisional government there. So after the victory in this war, the Principality of Bulgaria and Eastern Rumelia were created, which had significant autonomies, and a few years later they were united in one state and became independent. Now let's get away from the Balkans, where Russia played a big role, and fast forward to the east, namely Mongolia. By the beginning of the 20th century, all the Mongolian lands had been under Chinese rule for many centuries, but since the 19th century, China became restless. Constant revolutions and rebellions began to occur there. For example, in the 50s, one of the largest uprisings in history of China broke out, the Taiping Rebellion, which was directed against the feudal system and the empire as a whole. So the trends and revolutions and uprisings reached the Mongols, who had long been opposed to Chinese rule. In 1911, simultaneously with the Xinhai Revolution, which destroyed the monarchy, the Mongolian Revolution took place, and the Mongols requested support from the Russians. Initially, the Russian Empire did not want to interfere in Chinese affairs, but because of the uprisings that had begun in other regions, the Russians are sending troops to Mongolia, and provisional government is being created there. Russia immediately established economic and social ties with Mongolia, which helped the formation of the state, and the country itself became a de facto Russian protectorate, and again to the lands separated from the Ottoman Empire. Against the background of all the changes taking place in the Ottoman Empire and the Balkans, Romanians also began to gain national awareness and began to rebel. I have already mentioned the Wallachian uprising, produced by the Romanians, which was also supported by the Greeks, but it failed. The next uprising of the Romanians was outlined during the Russian-Turkish War of 1877, which also mentioned when the Bulgarians gained independence. In this war, the Russians asked the Romanians to support their war with the Ottomans, to which the Romanians gladly agreed. The Ottoman Empire was defeated in a year, and a new kingdom appeared on the world maps, Romania, which was recognized by many world countries. And that's it for now. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Like and comment this video. See you!